Full disclosure, news and commentary number 46. 46, 46, 46, 46. Hey, I got a little bit of a beard. I almost never have that because I work every day generally and I shave every day. But the last 2 days I've had off. We'll talk about why that is in a second. Our commentary is about the recent or not so recent debate about numbers. What numbers mean to your promotion, what numbers mean to who has a chance of being the best promotion. We'll get into that in depth, including a couple surprises that you will likely not expect. It's probably going to be a shorter full disclosure than it has been. Lately it's been 45, 50 minutes. This one will probably be shorter, just based on how much content I have to talk about. Just letting you know. So thanks to Brett, Brian, Dan, Derek, Diana, Jeffrey, Josh, Larry, not that one, the other one, Logan, Rob Rod, Southern Honor, and Double Dropkick, and of course the 4 that are giving at the $25 level and above, helping to pay for those Goodman trophies. I'm getting to see get the quotes and see what the trophies look like this week. Excited about that. We'll probably do a special video about that. But those 4 are Dynamite Soul, Eric Walker, Viral Pro Wrestling, thank you, the Transcendent Tag Team, and the OG Myron. Thank you guys very, very, very much. And there's money coming in from a couple of other sources as well to help pay for those trophies. And if you want to get in on that, just let me know. I also have stuff below. I have a separate account for all stuff related to the trophies. Yay! Boy, I've been on it. Yeah. I'm going to rant about my shit because it's very important to me. And so every year on President's Day, or actually 1 p.m. on the Sunday before President's Day until 1 p.m. on President's Day, which is today, for 24 hours straight, I play the same mobile game. It's the video game that I play, Marvel Contest of Champions. They have what's called an arena that runs for a 24-hour period. And my goal is to do 3 things. One is to raise $1,000 through Extra Life for the Children's Miracle Network, specifically the Arnold Palmer Children's Hospital here in Florida. So I've done it for years. And the first year I got less than 100. Second year I raised 100. Third year I raised like 300. Last year I raised 600. And this year, so far, the final, where the latest is 475, which is actually really good because there's a couple people who have already committed to giving me money as well by the end of the month, or giving it to my website related to Extra Life. This year I'm going to hit 1,000. And obviously today is usually the focus of that and the crux of that. But I'm very encouraged. But you'll notice that the thumbnail looked very weird. That thumbnail is a picture. Instead of littering this thing with pictures, I just could put up the picture that shows that I reached #1 in the thing. Now, you may not think that that's that big of a deal, but it's taken me 5 years to do it. 5 years of trying to figure it out. And then this year I had the extra incentive of last year. Normally I get around 4 million points, which is a lot. Last year, I grinded it out even harder and got 5 million points. So I thought, surely, since I almost always take 4th in the world, and by the way, Kabam, the company associated with Marvel Contest of Champions, is going to give me a final count of how many people actually played that arena. But it's in the hundreds of thousands of people, maybe millions. So, yay to me. But I got 1 million more points, 5 million instead of 4 million, and it only raised me up 1 spot to #3. And I was like, what the fuck? I was sure that I had it last year. And then as it turns out, I did a little research that the people who took 1 and 2 people were actually bots that were playing. It's a problem that's plagued Marvel Contest of Champions, where people use these sort of computer programs to play for them, and then they cheat. And there's a million other ways that they just make tons of points. So the two that I lost to, I'm convinced are bots. So this year, I prepared all year for this last day, and it paid off. I got well over 8 million points, and it's safe to say I was number one with a bullet, I'm sure. But in any case, it's very satisfying to sort of put those goals out there and hit them. You know, they sent me a Marvel Contest of Champions shirt, one of my listeners here. So yes, I wore it as I played the whole time, and I wore it today very proud. If I look exhausted, it's because I am. I didn't sleep for that 24-hour period. And then I had planned on taking a 3-hour nap so I could go into my evening. But I got up. Sorry. I got up before my alarm went off. So I was only asleep for like an hour and a half, which is a little kooky. But I got up and, there were some jobs for the mystery shopper thing. So I went out and did those and stopped by my job to see what was going on because I heard some drama happened while I wasn't there. And went by my P.O. box and picked up a box. But anyway, my rant continues to be, please contribute. Please donate. I really want to hit that $1,000. Right now, it's an old friend of mine who I haven't talked to or seen in many years, Alia Turner, who donated the most, which is $100. So right now, she's scheduled to win the Bruiser Brody shirt and the Steve and Jeff G. Bailey playing cards and the first printing of the Stephen Platinum shirt. And we're going to let her win that? We'll see. We'll see. At some point, I'll have to cut off, who gets the prizes. Let's say the end of February. Logical, makes sense, right? Cool. Stuff that's going to come out this week video-wise for me. People have noted that I've been putting out a ton of videos. Yes, and I will continue to do so. It just works out well for me to knock out videos. I did go to the WXW show on Saturday, so I'm going to get a report about that. But their sound system was such shit. It was my one major knock of the show is their sound system was just trash. I don't know why. Everything else looks top notch, and it was amazing. It was a packed house. Every seat really was full, and just high marks for that show all around. I'll get into it when I put in my report and video about it. And then so that reminds me, I'll put out another Platinum show investigation video for a show that I'm going to go to in March. Yay. And in addition to that, I'll have the WXW report. People have been asking me if I'm going to do a written report. I am. And I'll also do a video. I'm going to do a reaction to Jeff's NWA 52, which again I've had to avoid reading, which has been very painful because it looks amazing and I've heard great things. I'm going to do a review, but I'm going to get it done this week. I'm going to do the review of Drew Blood's writing, his Western series about wrestling, because I'm very excited to look at it. And the P list I'm going to put out is about the 10 most powerful people in wrestling in the state of Georgia, because that list has completely upended and changed, and I want to note that change. Great. Oh, unbox. Let's do an unboxing. This was very satisfying. So I was feeling good, hit number 1 in the world. And again, if you don't play this game, you don't realize how crazy that is, because tens, plural, of millions of people have downloaded this game over the years. And at any one time, tons of people are playing it. And so those Sunday arenas, everybody usually dips their toe in it at least. So to win that thing, it means a lot to me. Obviously not as much as the money that people are donating to Extra Life and to the Arnold Palmer Children's Hospital. That's the most important thing, of course, but I set those other goals out, and it's weird having attained them. Now I'm going to have to pick new goals. That's how it goes, right? I'll also have to get back. I've been working out throughout the week, but I've definitely tapered it down in preparation for this thing. And now tomorrow it ramps way up again because I'm running and running and running more. I'm adding more running to my workouts in preparation for the color run that I'm doing in April, and then I've decided I'm going to do one of those mud things, but that won't be until October. But then my training will change after April. Gunnar Miller seems to have a lot of fun changing out his workouts, and so I'm going to do the same. By the way, I'll go ahead and knock this out. The Gunnar Miller with Matt Hankins is the best episode he's ever done. And of course, I'm biased, full disclosure. I love Matt Hankins. Of course I do. But the Matt Hankins, Gunnar Miller, I mean both of them. Matt Hankins was a tremendous guest. Gunnar Miller, so good as a host now. I just love it. And the next episode I heard is going to be Tank. Correct me if I'm wrong, whomever. But I heard it's going to be Tank, so that's going to be very exciting. Let's do this unboxing. And it's another Geek Fuel box. And you'll remember the last time I got that shirt that I wear all the time, the Kid Arachnid shirt. The Mario and Luigi salt and pepper shakers are on my table, loaded and ready to go as we speak. One of my kids got the frickin' Deadpool and unicorn, which is now her favorite thing. The other kid took this crazy Space Invader socks, and it was dope. But we'll see how this one is. And then we'll get to the news, and we'll get to everything else. It's definitely different than the other box. Let's start with this. What the hell? The Power Blanket. Cuddle Power. Advanced Snuggle Technology. Feel the difference. Oh, it's like a Snuggie. It's like a Nintendo Snuggie. I'm down for it, as the kids say. Put that over there. What? Lots of good stuff in this box. I'm a big fan of these. Oh yeah, it's the Nintendo Power Blanket, which is great because the kids are down here all the time. Half the time, little Veronica wants to fall asleep on that love seat. Now she can have the Nintendo Power Blanket. Dope! The shirt, of course, I always love the shirts. Hopefully it's in my size. It is large. I don't know. I know who sent me the last Geek Fuel box. I don't know who sent me this one. Oh, be jealous of this Black Panther shirt. Gotta love it. Black History Month, February. And my birthday month. And Valentine's Day. And President's Day when I do my thing. And I hit #1 this year. This year is just shaping up. Ooh, I love this shirt. It looks good on me. Feeling, ooh. Love it, love it. What else do we got here? Vampire. Not sure what that is. Oh. Oh, it's Buffy the Vampire Slayer thing. And it's 2 pins. And it's Buffy and it's Angel. Oh, used to love the show. Hell, I even loved the original movie, honestly. But I certainly loved the show. I was down with that shit, with that Joss Whedon stuff. Cool. What else is in here real quick? The never-ending soap on a rope. Oh, it is. It's like a legit soap on the rope. You can see the rope down here and the soap. The never-ending soap on a rope. Weird, and I love it. Another Steam downloadable game. Deponia. Sweet. My kids really loved that last game. So they will no doubt love that one. Vampire. And one of these marble hang-em-ups. The other one was the Amazing Fantasy first appearance of Spider-Man, which is now hanging in my downstairs bathroom. I have 2 upstairs and 1 downstairs. And this one, bro. Cap in his own magazine at last, Captain America. Love it. I'll definitely find a spot for that. America. Sweet. Let's get to the news. By the way, whoever sent that to me, please take credit for it. Yeah, it's wonderful. APW with 92. Now, they were going to change owners, but they never did. The good thing is APW is continuing their trend of drawing better. So that's good. Southern Fried, of course, with, I mean, how much shit did you see coming out of this show? Southern Fried, you got to give it to them. Boy, you know when they have a good show. You know when they really legitimately have a good show because you don't fucking stop hearing from them. How many times did you see the picture of Logan Creed buried under that guardrail and all that other shit? Michael Judas holding up the title and all the rest of it. Southern Fried was very happy with themselves, you could tell. And they had a crowd of 300, which is definitely something to be proud of. Nick wrote a great report. Nick of the Tapped Out Guys wrote a great report, sort of admitting he didn't really care for their last show, but that he really liked this one. And apparently it went very well. You do have to, it does beg the question, where do they go from here? Who's going to challenge Michael Judas? But I think they made the right call if that was to be Logan Creed's last show. I think they did the right thing by putting a Michael Judas, who's a guy that Todd has worked with often in the past. It does beg the question. I wonder if Todd is planning to get back in the ring against Michael Judas. I witnessed one of their matches, and it was very good. I'm curious if Todd's going to do that. But congratulations to Southern Fried. Certainly part of their resurgence, most definitely. Georgia Pro Championship Wrestling with 150, supposedly. Larry didn't have a report up, but he called me specifically to tell me what AWE/Roar drew, which was 120. They obviously, for a show that was heavy on the Roar side. And so Roar completely smashed in the Empower show that took place in the Landmark, which was well received but poorly attended. Whereas this was not poorly attended. It was very well. They did very well, 120. I saw some clips of that show too. Looked really, really cool. Cool is one of those important things, you know. Pro South, right? Continues to be a show where they bring in really great wrestlers. Trevor Aon, you know, William Huckabee. Other great notables have been showing up there lately. But they've been wrestling in front of nobody. And the show that they have online is of dubious quality. So it does beg the question, must there be a Pro South? I say yes, and I can see why they continue to have it run. But if it's not going to make money, and if it's just going to be a burden, it's tough. Because it's a show the boys love to do, so they probably do Ace and them a bit of a favor to do those shows, meaning they probably don't charge as much. Because they know it is what it is. I've heard that they've had crowds as low as 15. So right now, their live show doesn't matter at all. It's about transmitting online, but here's the pros. The ring work is a million times better than it used to be. Pros. Ace Haven, or whoever's doing the booking, knows what the fuck they're doing. Clearly, that booking has just skyrocketed upwards in terms of quality. It is. I think it's safe to say at one point, a lot of people would have considered Pro South a bit of a shit show, and now it is clearly not. But it's drawing nobody. That's a problem. They're going to have to find a way to monetize that show and make it worth Ace Haven's time, especially if he's going to gain more and more prominence wrestling outside of there. Rant done. But the surprise show of the weekend, fucking Peach State, which went from drawing less than 100 to having 323 paid, 335 with comps. Yes, they outdrew Southern Fried, who just can't cut a fucking break. Southern Fried draws 265, and Southern Violence outdraws them. Southern Fried draws 300, and Peach State coming out of nowhere with 335. And I saw some people, different people claiming what drew what house. Folks, Matt Hankins drew that fucking house. Matt Hankins. His brainchild. And from everything I heard backstage with Shane Knowles booked two of the better angles they had on the thing. Rick was there to help. Certainly Matt Hankins was there. Matt Griffin was there as well. Supposedly his input wasn't really needed for this. But good for fucking Peach State. Again, wrestling in the state is better when the powerhouses have their shit going on. It's better when Peach State and Anarchy are doing well, and right now they're both doing very well. And they should both be very proud. And what both of them have very much in common is Matt Hankins. What do you want me to fucking tell you? Everything was coming up Hankins this week. His appearance on Gunnar Miller was the best. His fucking thing on Peach State made them the #1 show of the weekend. And Anarchy, could you imagine Anarchy without Matt Hankins right now? I can't either. Wow. What a difference. What a difference. Last thing before we get to the commentary. Told you it was going to be a little shorter today. Those Rob Rod video. He put out his first video, and a lot of people were worried. They were worried that I was going to be mad about it. The opposite. I fucking love it. It's a format that I love to digest. I love to read, and of course you should go to gwhnewsandnotes.blogspot.com and read. But I love the video blogs as well. I love them. I love doing them. I love consuming them. And so Rob Rod's got a thing where he's talking about wrestling coming up in the weekend, which is the one thing that I don't go to gwhnewsandnotes.blogspot.com to see what shows are coming up. I just tend not to look at that. So it's very easy to have it in a digestible form. Now, different people like Rodney West and people like that were going to put together these videos telling you the show's coming up, but then they kind of came and they went, and they don't always do them. But I have a feeling Rob Rod will consistently do them, and I'm looking forward to that. I think it's fucking great. I think it's yet another arm of not only Rob Rod, who does great show reports and continues to crank them out and do them and really lead the way in that stuff. But the videos, I think, are a great supplement. And it's different than what I do anyway, but even if we overlap, so fucking be it. Do I get mad when two guys do show reports from the same show? No, I think it's great, and I'm sure the people who run that shows love it as well. So Rob Rod, more power to you. I'm going to let you get a few under the belt before I review them, because I know how these things go. When you start out, it's always going to be a little shaky, little vanilla, a little whatever, until you really find your style and kind of go. I love that Rob Rod's already answering critics. That he had this thing like, you fucking tell me I suck, I'm going to say your father does. I was just like, damn, that dude is hostile. But I approve. Black Panther approves. Cool. Commentary. Numbers. Josh Wheeler put out a thing where he was like, the people make it too much about numbers. And my retort to him privately was, if it was all about numbers exclusively, then AWE wouldn't be in the top 10 wrestling leagues, especially at this point, right? But they are. And I put them there, right? I'm one of the many people who puts them amongst the top promotions in the state. Because it's not about just what you draw, right? There's quality issues and who's doing a real show as opposed to matchmaking shows. All that gets recognized. But of course, there's parts of it that are subjective. So anytime we do have numbers to go off of, that's great because it's in a more objective thing. You notice I say more objective. I don't say exclusively objective because numbers can be manipulated all the time. The tapped out guys often talk about that and do in-depth studies about how numbers and statistics do get manipulated for wrestling arguments all the time. You should be listening to the fucking tapped out guys if you're not already, in case you didn't gather that from what I was saying. By the way, I'm watching Godfather 2. I was watching Raw earlier, but there's so many inconsistencies, and they take so long to do everything, and it's a fucking dead crowd. It's just no fun for me to watch. I'm going to fucking spend my time to watch that shit. But Godfather 2 was on. Well, actually, the end of Godfather. I watched that, and now Godfather 2. For those that love knowing that kind of thing. So Viral also came out like nobody sent a person to review our show, but they put out their own show report, which is good. Should Viral be considered a top league? Yeah. Should they be considered the top league? Totally different distinctions. I would argue 8 shows a year means you cannot be in the running for top promotion. That's a strong stance. I'm not even comfortable. I'm just going to be fucking honest about numbers. That's what this commentary is about. Southern Honor doing 1 a month. I almost think that that's not enough. I think the industry standard used to be 2 a month. Except in your deadest months, then maybe you do 1. Similar to what Southern Fried does. I think that's the bare minimum for consideration for top show of the year, or at least I used to. So Anarchy / Wildside has always fit that bill. But we've evolved into a thing where the once a month show can be a show of can be the promotion of the year. Okay. Even though I don't really like the storytelling of a once a month show, I feel like you have to do too big of a leap. I figure that if you drag things out for too long, it just doesn't read because you don't get to bridge a lot of gaps. You don't get to give little hope spots along the way because everything has to have such major significance. I think of promotions that run once a month as like every game is like a fucking playoff game where everything gets magnified in importance instead of some things being able to simmer or to set things up or to establish a protocol which you can then break for a swerve or establish even stronger for a build. Instead, you have to make big moves every fucking time. The once a month promotions, I notice, for example, they almost always have one face or heel turn every fucking show. But I get it. I get it. Okay. So I've come to accept that Southern Honor can indeed be a promotion of the year, even though they only run 1 show a month. Why am I bringing this up? So now is the argument going to be, well, 8's okay. Okay. I'm going to run with your argument. At one point, I thought 24 was kind of the minimum. Then it's 12. Now we'll say 8. What kind of storytelling? 8? I mean, that's the WWE does more pay-per-views than 8 a year now, right? As I said once in anger, there was a time where PCW did more than 8 shows in a month. And some months did way more than 8. But now 8. If we collectively, sort of wrestling social mores, decide that 8 is okay, and that Viral can be a contender for promotion of the year, even with just 8 shows, why would we accept that? What are other mitigating factors besides the number of shows that you do? Obviously, quality of the show is one thing, but let's face it, if Viral was drawing 150 or less, we wouldn't even consider the argument, right? AWE, which does draw 150 or less, can be considered in the argument because they're running at least a steady show a month, and then usually they have a couple other things thrown in throughout the year, right? They do a show at this con, that kind of thing. And they just sort of loom large in our mind's eye when we talk about the Georgia wrestling scene. Viral is trying to get there. And some of it is fake it till you make it. They just keep saying they're the best until we accept it. Part of it is they're drawing more. Part of it is their production has ramped up. Part of it is Kitchens and Joshua are getting out there and letting their voice be heard. Small things like the fact that Viral puts up $25 a month to my Patreon to be a part of the group that buys trophies. Is that a big league move? You're goddamn right. In my eyes, it is. They're contributing actively to the Georgia wrestling scene. And by the way, if you're somebody who really wants those awards and really likes the thought of them, and you're not contributing to me, I mean, does that mean that you don't care as much? No, but if you are contributing, it tells me something. That's all I'm saying. That was my little promo for me. Okay, so let's just say that we accepted the notion of viral, and by the we I mean the royal we, right? So if viral is now in the discussion for promotion of the year, even though they do 4 less shows than Southern Honor, who does 12 less shows than what I would actually consider to be a viable promotion with nuanced storytelling. But now we can accept 8 if they draw plenty, right? And Gary Lamb threw out a thing, right? Well, IWE, everybody's kind of talking them up, but their biggest drawing show won't get what our lowest drawing one will. So Gary Lamb is putting the argument out that draw matters to an extent in the argument, and I think most people would agree. Let me extrapolate a little bit. And keep in mind that I understand that the argument that I'm about to make and the thing I'm about to say isn't a direct correlation, nor is it an A equals B equals C situation, so C equals A. I understand that. But if we're going to accept the premise that 12 shows is acceptable, and most would, I think, at this point extrapolate and say that 8 is as well, as long as you are drawing a significant amount. What if there was a promotion that only did 4 shows a year? Steve, they only do 4 shows a year, but they draw minimum 700. They've drawn as much as in excess of 1,000. And their gate completely destroys what everybody else is doing, to the tune of a general admission ticket at times being $50 and even a child's ticket being $25, which is more than anybody charges for their front row. Keep that in mind. Their child's general admission ticket, $25. General admission, $50. First row's $65. And they're drawing at least 700, usually much more. Mucha lucha. Now, as soon as I say mucha lucha, did barriers drop in your brain? Did defenses go up right away? Yeah, it's not a real show, though. Do you know that? Do you know what angles that they run? Do you know what local talent that they possibly use? Certainly, what's interesting to me about Mucha Lucha is as much as they're pulling in at the gate, I don't know if they're making money or not. I would love to talk to somebody from Mucha Lucha and ask them that point blank question. Are you making money? Because even though there's tons of money coming in, the talent they bring in, the lucha talent in particular, the Ring of Honor talent that they're bringing in, or the guys from Mexico, top-notch, top-tier talent that I assume that they're paying their full rate, flying them in, etc., etc. Do I want to go to one of those shows? I do, because I want to see that crazy atmosphere of 1,000 people going crazy for a wrestling show. Here's some knocks. They always fucking start late, which would drive me fucking crazy. And that's a shit ton of money to pay. Does that show live up to the hype? I don't know. It's good enough that they continue to draw. Would you consider Mucha Lucha part of the argument for promotion of the year? They do 4 shows, which is 4 less than Viral, which is 4 less than Southern Honor, which is 12 less than what at one time I would have considered the minimum amount of shows that you had to do for me to really consider you. But they outdraw all of them. And they sure as fuck outgate all of them. Combined, probably. Do the math. Let's put it at 700 people, paying $50 a piece. 35. No. Sorry, wrong. $35,000 gate. Southern Honors 1,000 show. They charged on average $10 for a ticket. We're just gonna take kids out of it who pay nothing or $5 or whatever. 10,000. Mucha Lucha's low end show has a $35,000 gate. And if you don't think gate matters, and if you're getting mad that I'm talking about what's the gate, keep in mind AWE has always done something that I thought was pretty smart, which is even though their crowds are smaller, they charge more. With the justification, especially back in the day when they were bringing in a lot of talent, like, dude, we're bringing in top-notch shit. You're going to pay fucking 20, 25. And their hardcore fans certainly had no qualms about it. Oh, Anna Kendrick. God bless her. Boy, she's getting those fucking Hilton ads, isn't she? God bless her. Who's the WWE person, by the way, that's doing national level ads right now? Exactly. That's how you know they're in fucking trouble as a brand. Neither here nor there. But Mucha Lucha, gate matters, right? Gate makes up for a lot of things. So if Mucha Lucha is drawing the most with the highest gate as well, and they've become a show where Matt Griffin and Rick Michaels used to help run that show, but they don't really do that anymore. So now it's those guys running it. I don't even know who's fucking running it, but I'm going to sure as fuck find out. Because if Viral's going to put themselves into the mix, and they've done a good job of doing that, should Mucha Lucha not be considered? And yet, whether the answer is yes or no for you on that question, it does bring up an interesting point. What are the standards that we're going to use? Is it gate? Because when I say the number 35,000, keep in mind, that's a low estimate. When fucking Impact comes here and runs shows, you think they're going to have a $35,000 fucking gate? No. You think Ring of Honor has a $35,000 gate? No. So you got an indie that's doing that. Does it not warrant a discussion? Does it not warrant an investigation? But they only do 4 shows. Okay. So what is the number? Is it 12? Is it 8? Why do these questions matter? Well, somebody has to set the standards, right? And I think I'd rather have the discussion because, you know, I in the last commentary, I talked about this whole chess thing, which people on the surface made fun of. But then as the week continued on, people began to discuss and embrace roles in my chess analogy. And whether they were making a joke, or whether they were embracing a role, or whether they were debating what their exact role was, having the lens and the foundation on which to discuss was important because it facilitated the discussion. So allow me to ask this question. Is it how many shows you do? Is it the quality of those shows? Is it the quality of the wrestling on those shows? Is it how much exposure you get through internet television? Because right now everybody feels like they're going on wrestling TV, right? Whole bunch of different shows are fucking doing it, including that deathmatch show that happened. Like a bunch of people are now getting on ITV and all this kind of shit. Does it matter that Southern Honor on their debut on that thing did way more than anybody was telling them that they were going to do? Yeah, it matters, right? So if Mucha Lucha goes on there, how many people are going to watch that fucking thing? You and I both know the answer is probably a lot more than everybody else. So then do they matter more? What if they had a fifth show or a sixth? What if they do a show every other month? Now, are they in consideration if they do 6 instead of 4? How many is enough of a draw before people really factor them in? To me, at the point at where you're doing minimum 700 people at that gate, pretty hard to ignore. What I would suggest is anybody who is in contact with Mucha Lucha, and there are local people who do that show. I think Diana Michelle does them. I know Marco has done them in the past. If I can get a hold of those fucking guys and go, I want to talk to them. I want to ask them questions, because if we're going to start having this idea of South Georgia being brought into the fold, and certainly people like True Blood are all for it, but other people have contacted me going like, yeah, but there really are shit shows. And should that not be a factor? There's fun shows, but then do the shows have to be of a certain quality? I noticed that the professors of wrestling have started putting up clips of the SVW shows and stuff that they've gone to. I think as a way of making an argument of like, look at this. It's like it's a real show, and this is a real spot that happened in the show, and blah, 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 blah. That's great. I just want to set some parameters out there for the argument, because numbers do matter. Do they not? As much as we might decry them. And believe me, I was with PCW, and I would say all the time behind the scenes, our job is to fucking move the rules of the game. Game's over here, assholes. Because I knew at the Academy Theater we were going to draw 44 tops. So I had to steer the argument away from just what we drew. But that's not to say that we didn't do incredibly well. In fact, I would say that, at one point at the Masquerade shows, we drew on a level that no wrestling show has drawn there, which is nothing to be ashamed of, certainly. And for example, all of those indies that are going to run in Tampa the week of WrestleMania, we did that too. And when we did it, we had 500 plus. Are all these shows, some of which I may or may not go to, are they going to have 500 plus? I doubt it. Yeah. We drew as much as Dragon Gate did when Dragon Gate still fucking mattered in the United States. So, anyway, what are the parameters of the argument? What are the rules that need to be set? And of course, I say rules like they're hard and fast. They aren't. But if viral is to be considered, is not Mucha Lucha? And if not Mucha Lucha, why not? And if Mucha Lucha is to be considered, then that's a whole different thing, is it not? One thing's for damn sure. 2020, Southern Fried has come out swinging. And other groups have arguably surpassed them. But it's not because they've gotten weaker. It's because other groups have gotten stronger. And now other groups are making their bid and their push. What is IWE going to do with their next show? We will see. But the fact is, they've gotten themselves in this rather crowded field of top promotions in Georgia. They've made their presence felt. And it's fucking exciting as shit. What a great time to be a wrestler in the state. Wrestling fan, of course, but I'm more interested in the fact that the boys have more options, that the boys have gigs, that there are shows out there that everybody knows pays a little more, and there's shows out there that pay a little less, but it's worth it to a lot of the guys. Great times. But here's the ultimate point, and then I'll wrap this up. So much for this being fucking shorter than the rest. Sorry, you know how I get. When you stop asking questions, and when you stop trying to pick things apart and find the standards and what the underlying arguments are, and factoring in people's personal bias and the lens at which they see things through. When you stop digging that deep, that's when you get taken for a ride. And I'm sorry, I'm always going to question things. I'm always going to ask the questions. A lot of people were shocked at my P list about 10 ways that the Georgia Wrestling History Awards could be changed. They're like, what the fuck? This was the best year you ever had in recent memory, at the very least. This last year, why would you change a thing? Because that's what you should do. We should always strive to be better. And when you finally do obtain your goal, like I fucking got #1 in that video game. Holy fucking shit, that's amazing. But I still have other things to strive for. I still want to get that 1,000. And then next year I'll find a way to get even more. I'll get started a little earlier. I'll start promoting the fundraising aspect earlier, etc. But yeah, but I'm not going to ignore the fact that there's a show that's drawing 1,000 with a gate in the tens of thousands. I'm not going to just ignore that and treat it as a sideshow thing anymore. Not until I look at it deeper. It's just too good of a time to do that. Anyway, thank you for the people who contributed and donated money. You can still do so. I'm going to have that link below. Please consider doing that. And we are quickly approaching 200 subscribers. So fucking great. Just thanks a ton, guys. I'm gonna go to fucking bed. You can see my eyes. I'm fucking tired as shit. But this has been Full Disclosure, and now it's a brand new weekend. It's on, baby.